I'm going to be doing a quick soup to clear out our refrigerator and clear out the pantry, because we're going to be leaving for about 30 days. So I don't want these things sitting in the refrigerator or the pantry. So let's just see how this looks. And I'll talk to you as we go along. There we go. Okay. So I'm at a little bit of a time crunch because I have a hungry person in my house, and actually I'm very hungry myself. So this is going to go very quickly. As you know, I normally just put everything in. There's nothing wrong with putting everything in and simmering it and getting the flavors to simmer together. So that's how this soup is going to be made. I'm just going to put everything in. If we really want, we can soften the garlic and the onions first. We can put in a few spices at the beginning, herbs and spices. But I'm going to make sure everything is in and able to simmer for about 20 minutes, and that should be good. These are all the things I need to clear out of my pantry and cupboard. So I have these 3 sweet potatoes. I actually have 4. I'll show you. My 4th one is pretty bad. I'm not probably going to be using this one. It's pretty shriveled, has a few spots on it. This one's going to the rabbit and the squirrel in our yard. They love it. They love it. So we'll just chop that up a little and put it out there for them, or the deer. We feed a lot of our animals here on our property in Montana, especially through some really difficult winters. We like to do that. So that'll go to them. It's fun to watch them too. The rabbit and the squirrel like to fight over it a little. I'll show you what I have that we're going to clear out. In addition to the sweet potato, is we have some onions left in the fridge. They need to be used. We have some little bit of carrots, organic carrots, so we'll use some of those. I have a little bit of some mushrooms that will go in this. And that'll be some of the great things that mushrooms can offer us. If you've heard any of my other videos, you know that mushrooms are really a superfood in so many ways for your immune system, and they're just like nuts. When you eat nuts, you get different nutrients from each one of them. That's true of mushrooms also. They have slightly different nutrients, but all some very good nutrients for your body, especially for your immune system. So I like to include mushrooms almost daily if I can, and if I can't, I actually use a powdered 5 Defenders mushroom tea so that I can get some of that every day. I think for my immune system, I really need it. And I have a whole thing of cabbage. We're going to chop that up and put it in here. This is going to be a big soup because I've got all these potatoes. I've got some onions. I might put 2. I'm going to put a little bit of celery. I'm going to put lots of beans. I want lots of protein in this, so it's going to come from the beans in this case. I could add a grain also if I had a grain that is handy, or when I go to use this soup, I can add grain to it. But in this case, we're going to be using a can of tricolored beans, 3 different types there. Variety, again, here's kidney beans, here's black beans. All of these different kinds of beans are going to go in here. That's going to be the protein. If I want more protein, quinoa would be a great one to add to this because it's high protein, it's a whole grain, and it cooks very quickly in about 20 minutes or less. It also thickens it quite a bit, so you have to be careful how much you put in it. I have gotten mine too thick before. And we have a few green beans left. I think, though, I may not put these in the soup. We could, or if my husband just wants to eat them, he loves green beans, so he may want to start with those while he's waiting for me to cook this soup. Let me just go tell him that. He's going to just eat those green beans cold, actually. Okay, so that's a good holding over snack for him. So here we go. We're going to do this start to finish. I will try to let you know a few things as we go through here. If you haven't already heard my spiel about onions and garlic, they are great for detoxification in your system. And I think we need help with detoxification of various things that we find in our food chain, whether it's heavy metals, or we need to detox from molds, or different pesticides, compounds that you break down in your system every day that need to be cleared, which are a lot of the metabolites from hormones and things like that. Onions, garlic, they are great for detoxification, and so is soy for that matter. So this is going to be a very hearty soup. I'm going to wash this off. We are probably not going to be able to eat the whole thing before we leave, and that's just fine. It will freeze very nicely. I'm not going to worry about it. And this can be chunky. A lot of times when I make these soups, if I want it a little thicker or I just don't want it that chunky, I will take half of it and blend it, and the other half can stay whole and chunky. And then sometimes people, like recently with my dad and his radiation treatments that he had for his throat, he couldn't swallow well, so it was good that everything was blended. But I noticed lately he is really enjoying his food again, in terms of textures anyway. He can't taste anything, but he is enjoying having some texture to his food, so he has been able to swallow better. His throat is healing nicely. His throat cancer seems to be in remission right now, so he's not even feeling any pain or anything there. I think he's most frustrated about not being able to taste right now, but some of that will come back. Now, sense of smell and sense of taste can heal, and that is likely what will be happening in my dad over the next few months. So he's doing really well. We have garlic and onions. That'll be first. I'm going to put everything in that pan while it's simmering. I'm going to chop up the rest of the cabbage and sweet potato. And we like lots of onions. Oh, the other thing I want early in this soup will be the mushrooms. If you didn't have this, you could put leeks. You could put, like I have green onions in the refrigerator. I could use the green onions in here also. So just toss them in. And then I know my system here is that I do onions, and then just as they're starting to cook, I toss in the garlic and my mushrooms if I'm using them. Let me get my garlic ready. I really need one of those garlic things, I guess, but I usually do this probably different than the rest of the world. My mom tells me I don't quite know how to do this, but I just take off the ends, peel that little thing off. It usually just slides off. If it doesn't, I sometimes twist it, and that will take it off too. But they usually just slide right off. I really like to bring out all the flavor of the onion and all the juices. I think there's a lot of different ways to skin a garlic. And interesting, in the Dominican Republic where we're going, they have almost what looks like a molcajete. It's a little pounder that pounds the garlic. It's really nice. I haven't quite gotten the hang of it, but they use it that way all the time. And same thing, they're just mashing the garlic so all the flavors get released into your dish, whatever you're making. And my grandmother probably used molcajete for hers. Hers was stone, whereas the one in the Dominican Republic that looks similar, it's a masher. I don't know the name of that. I'm gonna have to find out in the next few days since we're going there. I'll let you know when I find out. There's that. Let me wash my hands. I just have this thing, I just grate my garlic into the pan. That's what I'll do here. I can use one of those masher things too. My mom has one that you squeeze closed. It's a masher for garlic, and you still get a lot of stuff stuck in it. I mean, it's just like everything. There's pros and cons to everything, as you can see. So, interestingly, I don't know how many of you knew this, but I read the research on this recently, and I really want to start out by saying, I don't know if you were aware of this, but I wasn't, that if you eat the same number of carbohydrates and calories at dinner, you can watch how your blood sugar rises from that intake of food at dinner. And then if you did the same thing at breakfast, it could be the exact same meal with the exact same amount of carbohydrates. And if you take it in at breakfast in the morning, your body just manages that blood sugar much better. And you will not see the spike that you see in the evening for the dinner meal. And you will not see the blood sugar remain high as it can do in the evening after your dinner meal. So, you won't be going to bed on a high blood sugar level. And that's going to be really important when it comes to sleep, which we're really focusing in our practice this month on sleep and sleep quality. One of the most important things that I've learned this month for myself is that it's not just stress that makes you have high cortisol and difficulty sleeping at night, falling asleep or staying asleep, but blood sugar. Blood sugar also, whether it's high or low, I just dropped a mushroom. So whether your blood sugar is high or low, both give your body stress. They signal to your body that there's some kind of stress going on, either high blood sugar or low blood sugar, and that raises your cortisol. And cortisol, when it's high, keeps you awake. That's all there is to it. It's very difficult to sleep well and deeply with high cortisol. So if you're struggling with a number of things, blood sugar can get in the way anyway. High blood sugars and spiking blood sugars that rise abruptly and fall lower than normal because you've spiked your blood sugar with glucose like corn syrup. Those are very difficult things for your body to manage, and because they're difficult, they signal the release of cortisol, the stress hormone. And it's one thing to have cortisol in the morning when you want to be energized. Cortisol at night is exhausting. So keep that in mind. That is one of the reasons that we're working on getting our blood sugars stabilized, is to avoid those highs and lows like that. Interestingly, fruit does spike your blood sugar, but not to the same degree as something like corn syrup. It just doesn't spike it to the degree that something very sweet, like a sugary dessert, would do. At the same time, because it doesn't spike it high, it doesn't drop it as much either. So it doesn't stay up, and it doesn't drop your blood sugar into that low range either. So fruit is a much more stable sweetener than if you had syrup, corn syrup. Even maple syrup probably has quite a spike in some people, and even honey, because they are so quickly absorbed into your system. So when you're really struggling, those things, if you have them in your diet, should be going in with other things that will blunt that blood sugar spike to some degree. And those are usually going to be things like fiber, that have fiber in them. All plants have fiber. Animal products do not have fiber. This particular soup, I don't know how much fiber it's going to have in. I'll tell you, the sweet potatoes have a lot of fiber. These mushrooms do, the onions, garlic, everything I'm putting in here. All of the beans are high in fiber, so that blunts the blood sugar spike. So it's just not this high rise and then a quick fall. I'm going to put a little water in here and get this going. And as soon as it starts to simmer a little, we'll be putting the mushrooms in to soften. Some of you that have cooked with me before know that I don't use oil in my cooking. In fact, I don't use added oils in my cooking at all if I can help it. I know that people cannot imagine how you could possibly cook without oil. My mother reminded me of this several times when I visited her this past month, she could not imagine how you can cook your garlic and onions without oil. And I just put them in, I simmer them if I want them to be soft before I add the rest of the things. But everything's going to simmer over 20 minutes. And I'll tell you, onions and garlic cook in 20 minutes. I think actually I'm going to go ahead and take the peel off. It is probably not as good that way, but sometimes the peel just gets so hard to take in the soups. I'm gonna peel it. I won't do too much, I'll just do a little bit. Tremendous nutritional potential because you just have so much nutrients in peel. I'll try to do it not too much. That one I did too much. We'll leave a little bit of it on. But sometimes to get a whole mouthful of peel, it just doesn't thrill me. I can hear my onions and garlic starting to simmer over there. Let me take a couple of the rough edges off of the peel and try to leave most of this on here. I did wash these really well. That'll work. One of the things I like about this soup for flavor is I have a hard time with the sweetness of the sweet potatoes. They almost seem too sweet to me, which Megan has reminded me that's a little bit strange, but it is true since I've been on plant-based foods. My taste buds have changed quite a bit, and so sweetness just can sometimes seem overwhelming. And so what I find with sweet potatoes especially, they're highly nutritious, so I really do want to use them. I really love it with anything that's lemony, and I really love it with beans. And beans seem to tone it down a little for me and make it so I don't feel like I'm, just eating a sweet pudding for dinner, because I like things to be a little more savory. But other people would have sweet potato and they wouldn't have any problem with that. So it just depends on you and your taste buds, and don't base it on mine. I'm gonna chop these just a little. I think when the sweet potato goes in, it's gonna take maybe 20 minutes. It depends on how small you cut them. Something else I was thinking, we talked about the blood sugar and the morning, that your body handles higher blood sugars better in the earlier part of the day. You can just process things. So if there is something that I kind of want and I think it might spike my blood sugar, then morning is the time to have it, so that I can either exercise and work it off that day, or just take advantage of the fact that your body is able to manage blood sugar better in the morning. Just take advantage of that fact. And if you're going to have a multigrain pancake, or a pancake anyway, I would probably have multigrain if I could find it. If I made it, I could have it, but you can't really find multigrain in a pastry or a pancake or a donut. No such thing. But if you do your carbohydrate fix in the morning, it will be much better for your body than asking it to manage that in the evening. I'm going to go put the mushrooms in. They need to start. Let's do this. It's right about this time that I like to get any of the herbs and things in. So when you're thinking of vegetable broth, any of the vegetables that you put in this are going to add to that broth flavor. So you've got your garlic, onions, the cabbage, carrots, and celery, and mushrooms, and they're going to give that wonderful vegetable flavor. So then you can add some herbs. Add your herbs at this point. So things like I found some herbs in my fridge that need use. Organic thyme, oregano, another thyme. I think I even have a little mint. I don't know how it would be in this soup, but it's great in salads. I've been using it lately to use it up. I don't like things like that to go bad. And then if you need the salt, most of us do not, and most of us don't have any idea how detrimental salt can be for the body, especially for raising a blood sugar. People don't recognize that when their blood pressure is up, it is not only stressing their heart, but it is also stressing their kidneys. And We do see people who are struggling with kidneys that are slowing down. We have a problem with kidney disease in this country because we don't often deal with keeping blood pressures under control, and we don't realize the effect that that has on kidneys. So over time, what happens is your kidneys are working harder than they need to, especially if you have heart disease. It is very likely that the same things that are causing problems with your heart, which is narrowed blood vessels, are also the things that are causing kidney damage, because the kidneys have to work much harder when the blood vessels are narrow. And when your blood vessels to your kidneys are narrow, it increases your blood pressure in your whole body. Kind of complicated. I think the bottom line is that if you have high blood pressure, it tells you right there that the blood flow to the kidneys is being diminished, most likely by narrow blood vessels, because you've got plaque in them. And it's narrowing the blood vessels to the kidneys, and that's raising the blood pressure in the whole body, because the kidneys control the blood pressure. All right, we're just about set. This is going to be a lot of sweet potato in here. I wonder if that's too much, because I'll be calling this sweet potato bean soup or something. That looks like a lot. I'd have to stop there. I won't need carrot in this soup because I have so much orange in this soup, and I don't think it needs both. Let's put our cabbage in next. I'm going to take a couple of these leaves off. My rabbits will love me. Look at all this. They will love this. And let me just wash these off. I've got to add my beans real quick because it needs more liquid in there. I'm going to actually drain them and rinse them. It lowers the sodium that's in it. If I do add sodium to this soup, I'm going to add my own iodized salt to it, because I want to make sure there's a little bit of iodine to counteract the cabbage. And what that means is cabbage has goitrogens, and they tend to draw iodine out of your body. So what I normally just do is I simply don't cook very often with salt, but when I do use salt, I use an iodized salt. And I could use the salt that's in the beans already, but it doesn't have iodine. A processed food doesn't. They just don't put iodized salt. And sometimes we need it, particularly if you're doing what's recommended and you're eating a cruciferous vegetable a day like cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, arugula, radishes, broccoli sprouts. All those things draw iodine out of your body. So the best way, I think, is to use your own iodized salt when you cook with those things. I mean, you don't even have to put it in the soup. You can just have somebody season their own soup with a little bit of salt. And what they have found is that people get less salt that way. Less salt than if you actually put it in the dish and then they salted it again anyway. So I'm going to rinse them and add them. It's going to be a chopping spree. Right? So I haven't put any of the herbs into the soup yet. I'm going to go ahead and add this. The disadvantage of making a fast soup is that soups are one of those things that they really need to simmer to be good. You know, and I'm not sure 20 minutes of simmering is what I'm talking about. I think soups really need a good simmer to blend all the flavors. And next day soups are wonderful. That's always the case. But we're going to make a fast soup anyway. Quite a bit. Running into the same problem as the sweet potato. This is coming out to be a lot. I'm going to have to make another soup. To use because I still haven't used the carrots yet, and I haven't used the celery. Wow, that's a lot. I don't even think I can fit too much more in my pan. Yikes. I see. I just put the beans and everything in here, and I'm just going to mix that up, but you'll see my pan is filling up quickly. So let's put the cabbage in there. This definitely needs some water here. I think I'm gonna add the other sweet potato actually. That doesn't look like I have too much in there. So I'm gonna add the other sweet potato and some water and some herbs. So, well, this will be good. I'll just put these in here and let them simmer and flavor that whole soup. I don't think I'm going to use the rest of that cabbage, but we'll find out soon enough. Let's put this in. One thing I've found that I really love in my cabbage soups in particular is a little bit of cumin. I don't know why, but it gives it almost a little bit of a hint of southwestern or chili kind of smoky flavor, and yet it doesn't give it any heat. It's very, very nice in cabbage soups. One of the things that I really didn't talk about much with this soup is the value of the sweet potato and any kind of orange vegetable like this. It is extremely high in vitamin A. Not vitamin A like what you would take as a supplement. In fact, the vitamin A that you take as a supplement, you can actually overdose on that and become toxic on it. Whereas the vitamin A that you actually get from orange, yellow fruits and vegetables is going to be a form of vitamin A, beta carotene, that your body doesn't get toxic on. And it's really nice to include those every day in your diet because they are essential for a well-operating immune system. So for your immune system, we really want vitamin A. Of course, for your eyes, that's one of the benefits of vitamin A. But really, I just want you to remember, if you're not putting sweet potato in your daily menu, try some of those red, orange, yellow peppers. Try some carrots, of course. That's a really easy one. You'll get some in oranges. Any of the reddish things like watermelon, and those will have some good vitamin A also. So any of those things, keep in mind, it's for your immune system. You want it every day if at all possible. So I'm just getting ready to add the herbs. I'm not one to season well, but I'm going to take my leftover thyme that I have here. It's a little bit dried out, but what's nice about it is it's still got some freshness to it. And I'm just going to, you know, just kind of crush these up and make sure I don't have any stems in it. Even in crushing it, I can tell it's very fresh still, and will give a nice bit of thyme flavoring to this dish. Because it's sweet potato, thyme will go really well with it. Same with the cabbage and the beans. Thyme is a good one. Oregano will be the next one that I do. Yeah, so a little bit of that. Thyme, oregano, these are all things that help your body as antioxidants. A 1/4 teaspoon of herbs a day. When you have these antioxidants in these herbs, that it's such a high concentration in a small volume. So, you know, a 1/4 teaspoon a day is going to benefit you. Whereas you might have to eat a whole fruit or a whole vegetable to get the same amount of value of antioxidant value. So just don't hesitate to use some of these herbs. What I do caution you about is to try to make sure that they are organic, because when you're taking things in high concentrations like this, you are also taking in concentrated amounts of pesticides if they are not organic. I'm going to take that over there and put it in just like so. One of my favorite things to add to a soup like this would be Dr. Greger's website has this, nutritionfacts.org. He has a savory spice blend, which I don't have any prepared. So I have a couple things I'm going to add to this. One will be a little bit of cumin, like I said. For this big pan, it's probably going to take about a teaspoon of ground cumin. And then I might do, this is an Italian seasoning mix that I probably got off the internet. And I'm going to put a little bit of this in there since I didn't have a lot of the fresh thyme and oregano. So I'm going to put a little bit of both of those in. And I am going to see how much salt I need in it, because I do want a little bit of iodized salt in it because of using the cabbage. So let's just add some seasoning. It's starting to simmer, and I want to just finish this up for Larry's and my lunch. So I wanted to just tell you a couple other options you can use instead of the salt, the iodized salt in this soup. And one is you could use a little bit of, this is Pacific kombu. It is a seaweed that has its own iodine in it. And these come in sheets like this. For this amount, I would probably take something about this size, 1 by 2 inches, and chop it up pretty small and put it in there. This is very salty, but it also has iodine in it. So it's a good way to get a little bit of iodine back that the cruciferous vegetables are taking out. And here is the other one. These come, I got this one at Kirkland, but you can find these. This is roasted seaweed. The main thing I don't care for about it is that it's cooked with organic sesame oil and sunflower oil. And again, I tend to not buy things that are processed oils. And I think even those organic ones are processed oils. I don't tend to add oils to my food other than in the form of nuts or seeds or avocado. But these come in packages that contain about 35 of these little sheets. And probably if we just wanted to get our iodine needs met for the month, I would say 4 of these would be adequate for the month. So in a dish like this, 1 is plenty. 1 is plenty. But just to kind of break that up and put it into the dish, has a little bit of salt, and it's definitely got some iodine in it, okay? So a couple different ways to add seaweed. I don't think, they just say organic seaweed, so they really don't specify what kind. So it could be dulse, it could be nori, could be kombu. So they apparently don't have to tell you what type. It's probably a mixture anyway. Okay. All right, so as you can see, I added some herbs a little bit. It's getting to be a little bit darker color, but this soup right now seems a little bit thin. You know, it's got a lot of stuff in it, and it's still cooking down. So some of that's going to cook down, the beans and the sweet potato, and they are going to thicken this soup a little bit. But you have several options here for thickening this soup. So once everything gets tender, if it doesn't seem like it's thick enough, you can take half of it and put it through the blender, and then you'll have a little bit chunky, a little bit thicker soup. Or you could add a little bit of protein and thickening in the form of, this is chickpea flour. That will also thicken this soup very nicely and add protein to it. The other option is to add a grain, especially something like this. This is quinoa, and that is also a really good one to put in this soup because it's high in protein. It's an organic. So I get this one at Costco, Kirkland. It will thicken this soup quite well. So if you just want it a little bit thicker, that's a good one to add. And if you want a thickness like what you sometimes see when you add flour, I would add the chickpea flour if that's the kind of thickness that you want. So I'm just going to put a little of this quinoa in. It takes about 20 minutes for it to soften. And that's about how long I want everything else to cook too. So let's just do that. And then I will show you the final product when we're done. Okay, I want that to boil. It's a little slow. I just turned it back up. And I'll probably put a lid on it. We're just gonna taste it after we put that splash of apple cider vinegar, which probably didn't even show up on the film. Another splash. I don't think that was enough, but I haven't quite figured out. It needs something. I think it almost needs lemon. Yeah, that's very good, but I do think it needs a little lemon. Ooh, it's getting really thick now. Much thicker. Okay, I'm gonna put it in a bowl, honey. I'm gonna just use this to scoop.
Ooh, it looks good too. Sweet potatoes.
Right.
Do you have any onions in there?
Oh yeah.
And cabbage.
Cabbage.
And beans.
And beans.
Ooh.
I'm gonna put at least 2 scoops, okay? A little bit of mushrooms are in it. One more scoop?
No, that's good. Start right there.
That's it. Okay.
Ooh, thank you. It looks really good. There's a spoon for you.
Let me move that.
Look at that thing.
What was it?
Does that look delicious?
Ah, it does, but it's going to be really hot, so be careful.
I'll tell you how delicious it is in about 10 minutes.
Okay.
When I bring back an empty bowl.
Right. It is good. It is very good.
Man, the juice is good.
You definitely have to adjust your spices to your taste. But yeah, the juice he just said is really good, and that really is where your flavor comes from. And it's in the simmering that flavor from your juice becomes part of your soup flavor. Part of the rest of the soup is really in the simmering. So I'm gonna see if I can get one last photograph.